Welcome to Washington Watch with Congressman Walter Jones. Each month, we take a look at the events happening in Washington, D.C. and how they affect our lives here in Eastern North Carolina. And now, here's your Congressman, Walter Jones.
Welcome to the November edition of Washington Watch. This month's guest is Lieutenant General Pete Osman, President and CEO of the Marine Toys for Tots Foundation. Before joining Toys for Tots in 2007, Lieutenant General Osman had served for over 37 years in the United States Marine Corps. During those 37 years, Lieutenant General Osman has been assigned duties at various locations from Vietnam to Iraq to MCB, Quantico, to our own Camp Lejeune. Now, Lieutenant General Osman continues to work with the Marine Corps by overseeing one of the most successful non-for-profit public charities known as Toys for Tots. General Osman, thank you for being on this show.
Thank you very much, Congressman. It's wonderful to be here. I appreciate this opportunity.
Well, I want the people to know back home that Toys for Tots is a program, and particularly with the economy as difficult as it is for many of our citizens in Eastern North Carolina as well as across this nation. Would you please share the history of Toys for Tots? It's a very unique program.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Toys for Tots has an incredibly interesting history. It actually goes back 62 years to 1947, post-World War II, when a reserve major in the Los Angeles area named Bill Hendricks decided that there were some children in Los Angeles that were less fortunate than other children, and so he and his reserve Marines got together and went out and collected 5,000 toys in Los Angeles and distributed them that Christmas to the less fortunate children in their area. Interestingly, the word of the success of this first campaign got back to Washington, and the Commandant of the Marine Corps fell in love with the idea. Saw a great community outreach program opportunity for the Marine Corps and decreed that in 1948, the next year, every reserve unit in the nation would conduct a Toys for Tots campaign. So in 1948, there were 74 local Toys for Tots campaigns taking place in 25 states. That was really the beginning of the national program. Interestingly, Bill Hendricks, in his civilian life, when he wasn't serving as a reserve Marine, was the director of public relations for Warner Brothers. And because of that, he had connections in Hollywood, one of them being Walt Disney. And so he went to his friend Walt Disney and asked him if he wouldn't mind designing a poster that could be used to advertise this first national campaign. Walt Disney did that. And what came out of it was a poster that had a Santa Claus on it, and on the bottom was this three-car train that had Toys for Tots written in it, and that has become our logo ever since, the little red train with Toys for Tots in it. So a very interesting beginning. Obviously, the program has grown tremendously since those early years. This year, we will have some 688 local campaigns taking place across the nation, all 50 states, in the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. A very, very large effort certainly ongoing this year, and as you said earlier on, certainly with the economy being the way it is, the demand is going to be there.
Well, I know that in the 3rd District of North Carolina, the home of Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point Marine Air Station, that the people of that area really open their pocketbooks and their hearts. And we have for the last few years worked with the local Marine League in Pitt County. Right. And Jason Lowry on my staff is an active member of the Marine League. And so we've opened our doors to let people drop toys off. And I want to say that last year, as a matter of fact, the union at Cherry Point Depot, they came up with a truckload of toys. And that leads me to this question, General Osman. How many children each year do you feel like that y'all touch?
On the national level, it's an incredible number. Over the last several years, we have reached each year over 7.5 million children, distributing to them well over 16 million toys. This is a huge effort, as you can see, making a difference in the lives of our less fortunate children. I guess the unfortunate thing is the Census Department tells us that we have over 14 million children that live at or below the poverty level in our nation. Right. So there is a real need out there for us to support, and so obviously we work very hard to do that.
Well, General Osman, we're going to have during this show, this interview with you, there's going to be telephone numbers put on the screen and also websites. And I know that for a lot of people, you know, and even in my life, a little bit more tougher than it has been, and from the standpoint of, you know, the economy. And I have tried to, you know, do what I can to help, and I know many thousands and millions of people across the nation do as well. And what I would like to say to those watching the show, that even if you can't give just a few dollars to this program, it will all be appreciated.
Absolutely. Interestingly, in the Toys for Tots program, a $15 donation or dropping that one toy in that barrel makes all the difference in the life of that one youngster at Christmas time. I mean, just to bring the joy of Christmas to a youngster, to send a message of hope to both he and his family is so important. So for a very, very small amount of money, an individual can truly make a difference on Christmas morning.
Well, I know that in our discussion earlier, maybe even since we've been in the interview started, that this is a Marine Corps project and goes back to 1947, as you said, but that any family that maybe is in a difficult situation, that a toy could help a child. They don't have to be in the service or the Marine Corps.
Absolutely. In fact, the whole purpose for the program is for the Marine Corps to be able to reach out into the communities and make a difference. I mean, that's where we draw our Marines from. So if we can return something like this to the communities from which we draw our Marines, that's what we want to do. It is a community outreach program that the Commandant is incredibly supportive of and counts on in bringing the message to the American people that their Marines really do care about the American citizen.
Well, I know that when I usually drive home on the weekends, I have a list to shop for my wife and go in and out of stores, and now this time of year I try to get one toy that I would hope a child would like, and it really doesn't matter. You don't know the children, you don't know if it's a baseball or football or a doll or whatever it might be, that a person, since I don't have any grandchildren, it's fun for me to pick out a couple of things on these drive homes that I can give to Toys for Tots. I would like to ask you a little bit about your service in the Marine Corps, 37 years active duty, and just for a moment or two, we go from the Toys for the Tots to your time down at Camp Lejeune.
Yes, sir. I would love to talk about that. In fact, I appreciate that opportunity. From 2002 to 2004, I was fortunate enough to be the commanding general of the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force. And of course, in those days, we were just at the beginning of the war in Iraq. Yes, the Marines could not have responded better than they did, the great support from their families. And sir, I want to take this opportunity, public opportunity, to personally thank you for the support that you gave us. I never had a chance to offer that to you, but believe me, as I was getting ready to leave, I thought, wow, the support that particularly the local political figures offered to us, and particularly Congressman Jones, made a huge difference to our Marines and to their families. And I know you continue to do that today, so thank you very much for that. As I've shared with many people, that 2-year tour, particularly with the war ongoing, was probably the most rewarding tour that I had in my 37 years. My wife and I fell in love with the coastal Carolina area. In fact, as I told you earlier, we were even looking at retiring down there, but this opportunity presented itself, so you know, my life took a different direction, but nonetheless, great affection for the area, for the way it embraces its Marines, and for the great support that you gave us.
Well, you're kind, and whatever I've done for the Marine Corps, and I love all those in the services, but there's a special heart there for the Marine Corps, and you know, we're just blessed with leaders like you, and also we're blessed with the young private that goes in the services. In this case, the Marine Corps. They're very special as well. Again, let's just mention that if you don't mind giving the website and the telephone number, it's going to be shown on air, but if you, I wouldn't remember the telephone number, so I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, the www.toysfortots.org is the website, and if someone wants to get any information find out where drop-off locations are, how they can volunteer to help support. All that is located on the website. If they want to call our foundation headquarters, certainly welcome to do that. It's 703-640-9433. And this is a community program, and we count on literally tens of thousands of volunteers each year to help us to bring the joy of Christmas and send a message of hope to our nation's less fortunate children.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had not even thought about, after you collect the toys, somebody has got to help disperse the toys, and I didn't even think about that, so I'm glad you mentioned that too.
Get tremendous support to help do that. I mean, the Marines are the ones who are kind of orchestrating things, the leaders usually in the community in making it happen, but there's the sorting of the toys, separating them into gender, into age groups, the local social agencies, the churches, police departments, fire departments all help in identifying the families that are in need so that we ensure that the toys get to those who need them.
I'm glad you added that, because as you just mentioned, churches and civic clubs and boys clubs, I guess, and the police, they are the ones that really are on the ground that understand where the hurt might be in a family situation, and they can take the toys and make sure that the family gets the toys.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, this year, have you seen, and I hope you're going to say no, but you'll have to answer this, has there been a drop-off in donations?
It's a great question, Congressman Jones. At this point, of course, it's still fairly early in the campaign, and most Americans don't start thinking about Toys for Tots until well into November. And so it's difficult to say how the actual buy a toy, drop it in the barrel is going to be. But we have had some great indicators on our direct mail campaign, our website donations. Both of those are up over previous years.
Splendid.
So,
Splendid.
I mean, God bless the Americans. They understand that there's a need out there, and they're already responding and have been doing so for a good portion of the year. So we see some very positive indicators at this point. As you mentioned, with the economy being the way it is, there's also no doubt in my mind that we're going to see an increase in demand this year.
Yep.
And so we're trying to prepare ourselves as best we can to be able to meet that additional demand.
Well, knowing the Marine Corps and their reputation, there's never been a mountain they couldn't climb, I'll put it that way. But as you've said, and you've said so well, that you need the help. You can be the quarterback, but you need the blockers, and you need the halfback, and to make this
great analogy
become a victory for the children. In addition to, I know that most people, as you said, and I think you're exactly right, they're going to start focusing in probably in another few days as we get close to Thanksgiving. There are plenty of sites, and I know that they put posters up, I believe, in some of the stores. They still do that, I would imagine, for local consumption.
Yes, sir. We actually provide at the national headquarters lots of promotional materials for the local campaigns. That way they don't have to worry about the advertising. We pretty much provide them all that they need. Generally speaking, there are plenty of merchants that are more than glad to put a Toys for Tots drop-off barrel in their store, or to put a poster in the window. So we get incredibly good support usually from the local merchants.
So if there would be somebody watching this show that is a merchant and they were thinking, well, maybe this is something I've never done before, I'd like to do it, so they could go on that website and I guess lend their name and ask how they would become a participant.
Exactly. The website would direct them to, in your district, to obviously North Carolina, and there are actually 6 local campaigns that are taking place in 3rd District. It would tell them who the coordinator is within that particular local area where the campaign is taking place, points of contact, as well as everything they need in order to touch base with the individual who's coordinating the activity. And then they can offer their services in a variety of ways.
Well, let me ask you, since I haven't, maybe I should have first, how much staff do you have? Because this is quite a task when you're trying to put together a program like this for the nation. This is quite a task.
Yes, sir, it is. This is one of the beauties of the program, and probably the one thing that attracted me to the program more than anything else is the fact that we have a very small staff at the national headquarters. In fact, the staff total is 14 people. So we have 14 people that oversees the entire Toys for Tots effort across the nation, where you have 688 campaigns going. You know, in the business world, they talk about flat organizations. I don't think you can get a whole lot flatter than that, Mr. Congressman. That's pretty flat. So, but we take great pride in that. And obviously, the folks really are working very, very hard at this time of year as we try to provide the oversight and the support that's needed at each of the local campaigns to make sure that they are as successful as they can possibly be in their locales.
Well, I again want to thank you for, we're not finished yet, but I think in a difficult time like we're faced with, many of us, you obviously, and those who work with you, you think about the children. I go down to Camp Lejeune quite frequently, as you know, and I have a chance a couple years ago to read to about 15 children at Johnston Elementary School.
Yeah.
It's National Reading Day, and you know, many of these children, their parents are being deployed, and it really gave me a new insight into, you know, how maybe children think when they've got a father that's going overseas in the military, in this case the Marine Corps. But there again, I come back to the civilian, where a child is home and here's the mom and dad's talking about, well, you know, I have my job this year, and you know, I don't know what we're going to be able to do, and I think there are probably many of those conversations going on outside the military as well within the military, of the father or the mother being deployed.
Right. Yeah, there's no question that these days the deployments are high. I mean, you know that probably better than most Americans do. What's amazing to me is how resilient the families have been. There's I don't know if it's something that the families pick up from the Marine along the way, that this is something very important, and we're all willing to sacrifice to make it work. The children seem to pick up on it as well, and we often say that they are the unsung heroes in the Marine Corps, are the families, and they are incredibly supportive. So, you know, I know my own family for my long years in the Marine Corps, that I couldn't have done it had not been the support that they provided me. So, you know, when we see children who sometimes are maybe suffering from a parent being deployed, or in the civilian community, maybe a parent has lost employment, you know, if we can do anything to help that out through this program, then that's what we're there for, is to make that difference.
Well, General, again, we got a few seconds left. I want to thank you first for your service to this nation, as all who serve our nation in the military, in this case the Marine Corps, and also this Toys for Tots, because we want to make sure that those people watching this show, that they will do their part to help make sure that children will have a toy.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you again, sir, for your great support. If I could, real quick, we have a little memento we'd like to leave you with. This is the little logo that Walt Disney created back in 1948, the Toys for Tots. So a little something maybe you can put in your office as a memento that you have a relationship with an organization that's making a difference in a very different way across the nation.
General, thank you so much. And in just about 1 minute, Glenn Downs, my chief of staff, will be on the show. We'll talk about some issues back home. Well, welcome back to part 2 of the November edition of Washington Watch. I'm delighted to have Glenn Downs to join me now, and I certainly was thrilled to have the General Osman, who has the program Toys for Tots. But Glenn, thank you for being on this part of the show.
Well, thank you once again for having me back, Congressman. And as I like to say frequently, the people of Eastern North Carolina are not shy about not only asking their member of Congress what they think, what he thinks, but telling them what they think. And what most people, as we're taping now, are asking about and talking about is this. And this is the 1,900-page copy of Speaker Nancy Pelosi's health care bill. And people are concerned and in many cases upset about this and about the process. So I think that's what we want to talk about mostly here today.
Glenn, thank you. We have gotten many calls, and certainly I saw many people during the August break and told them that I agree that we do need some reform in the healthcare system. I had doctors to tell me that, nurses and hospital administrators, but not a total takeover by the federal government. Right now, as we're taping this show, I don't believe that the Speaker of the House has the votes from the Democratic side. Obviously, I don't know of any Republican that could vote for this bill, but there are many conservative, moderate-type Democrats that say they can't vote for it either. And being a pro-life Catholic, there's a provision in here that uses taxpayers' money to fund abortions. And I want to give Bart Stupak from Michigan, a Democrat, has been out front on the Democratic side to tell the Speaker of the House that they cannot support the bill when it's got that provision in it. There are other provisions in addition to that that give me trouble.
Well, if we can back up for a second, and let me ask you if I can, because you say there needs to be some reform, and people do have, I guess, frustrations with the health care system as it is today. Can you tell people, you said you're against this, can you give people an idea of some of the things that you think do need to be addressed by Congress?
Glenn, if I could, the first issue that I think needs to be dealt with separate is the high cost of insurance. What can we do to bring down the cost of insurance? Secondly is to make, in addition to insurance affordable, is those people who have pre-existing conditions to help them qualify for some type of health care. I worry about the high cost of prescription drugs. There are many, many facets to the problem, and I think that the problems can be fixed step by step. Now, for many people, they say, look, we like our health plan. Well, they should be protected to keep that health plan. So there are several issues that need to be dealt with for the good of the American people, but this 1,900-page bill that you just made reference to is, in my opinion, is dangerous to the health plans that we have in America today.
Well, one thing about this bill in particular, but about a lot of bills we've been seeing in this Congress generally, is this, and this got people upset, and they're calling in because people are, I guess in the 3rd District, like a lot of places in the country, are becoming very net savvy, and they've learned how to get on the internet, and they like to read these things themselves. And well, first of all, it's pretty hard to get, this bill just came out, and you got 1,900 pages, and they say we're going to vote on this in a couple of days. Right. And so people say, why in the world is Congress, any Congress or any member of Congress, they want to know why are bills that are this long and this comprehensive and this far-reaching, what's wrong with the system that allows this sort of things to be brought up and presented in this form?
Glenn, both parties have been guilty of this. When we were the majority, we had the Medicare prescription drug Part D bill that was 1,000 pages, and every member got it late morning, voted in AM the next day. The problem is that, and we are coming together in both parties, truthfully, on this to say, slow it down. We've got to have a chance to review this legislation. What makes this so difficult is not only the pages, but many times on a comprehensive bill like this health care bill, you've got to have the existing public law to see how it fits in. So it's not just simply reading pages. You've got to figure out how it fits with the current law. So it's very complicated. And again, I hope that we can slow this train down.
Well, that is, again, talking about the larger, if I can just sort of convey what some of the people that I've talked to from the 3rd District in Eastern North Carolina have said, it's a larger sort of a general frustration that things almost up here seem to be out of control, that it's not, things are not being done in a controlled, moderated kind of way, that it's so people, almost like someone said in a phone call that they felt like they were drinking, trying to drink water out of a fire hose. It was coming, massive changes were coming so hard and so fast. There's a real concern about almost systemic failure. Is everything going to kind of come crashing down? It's a generalized concern, but and this is sort of a case in point in that generalized concern. It is.
That's a good point by you. It goes back to the bailout when President Bush was the president. Now it's President Obama, and we're still bailing out those who fail. And the people in Eastern North Carolina believe in rewarding those who are successful, not those who fail. And when I look at the way that this process has worked over the last few months, it's really been not good for the taxpayers. There are those of us in both parties trying to slow this train down simply because we're what's called a debtor nation. I'm concerned about the unemployment in eastern North Carolina. I'm concerned about the unemployment in North Carolina, the unemployment across this nation. I want this Congress to start looking at how we rebuild America. I never voted for a foreign aid bill. I don't intend to. I want to start spending money here for the American people to enhance and to rebuild our properties, our streets, our highways, and to help people get good paying jobs.
Well, I know we don't have much time, but just one last question or point that I've heard brought up about this. It was kind of following up on your comment there. So where's the money coming from for this? We're hearing this is, you know, a $1.3 trillion or higher, depending on who's doing the counting. And we don't. If we're in debt and we're broke, where does the money coming from for this?
Well, we're a debtor nation. We borrow it from China, we borrow it from Japan, the UAE, and we're what's called a debtor nation, and it's getting worse every day as the debt and deficit continue to go up and up. And I think you have to get to a point, the President, the Congress, to say, look, we got to stop spending. We got to slow it down and stop it to get a handle, if we're ever going to get a handle for our children and grandchildren. Glenn, thank you for being on the show. I want to wish each and every one a happy Thanksgiving. And I want to ask you to please, during Thanksgiving, remember our men and women in uniform overseas. And may God continue to bless our men and women in uniform and bless the families. And may God continue to bless America. Thank you for watching this show. I hope it's been a good show for you. I've enjoyed it, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for taking the time to join us for Washington Watch.